Okay. Thank you again for joining us. My name is Craig Weinrich. I'm the Director of Member Services for Council of New Jersey Grantmakers. Thank you all for attending today's New Jersey Corporate Philanthropy Network webinar on analytics. We're pleased to have Jennifer Brunelle from NRG Energy, and Jonathan, I hope, is also on the line from Horizon to talk about this. I would like to turn it over to Marion, if you wanted to do a quick welcome and introduction.
Yeah, welcome everybody, and I'm happy to see that other people have the same interest in this topic that I do. And to Craig's point, thank you very much, both Jennifer and Jonathan, for your willingness to share what your corporations are doing. And if I could just give a quick plug for CNJG, if you're interested, take a look at the Spring Colloquium on their website. It's May 24th. We're already registered, and I'm hoping all of you can. So Craig, I don't know if you want to start and give some of the housekeeping.
Sure. As I've mentioned before, we are having this conversation. We're going to keep the lines unmuted for now, so if you would like to mute your own personal line, you can press *6 to mute your line, and to unmute your line later, press *7. You can also ask questions using the chat window on the website. That's on the lower left corner of your screen, I believe. And then at the end of this call, you'll be directed to our quick evaluation survey at the end. So I ask that you please take an additional minute to complete that survey and help evaluate this program and help us figure out some ideas for future programming as well. So I think we can get started. And Marion, if you'd like to introduce Jennifer.
Jennifer Brunelle is the Director of Global Giving at NRG Energy, and she has a presentation which I presume everybody has a link to. So welcome, Jennifer, and again, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Craig. Wanted to just give everybody a case study of what we've done here at NRG with our philanthropic giving program as it's grown with the demand to be able to justify why we do what we do and spend the dollars that we spend on corporate philanthropy. I think a lot of us probably started out, or our organization started out at one point or another, giving because it felt good. It felt like the right thing to do. And as brands change, as public perception changes, we've really all been asked to focus on how our giving can be more strategic. And with that, defining the outcomes of our giving to prove or find out what's working, what's not working, so that we can align ourselves with the brand. Next slide, please. So again, at NRG, our goal is to improve the evaluation of our philanthropic platform as it's not directly linked to customers or profitability. So we decided to achieve this with a data-driven framework. So there's data collection, we measure and evaluate, and then we transparently report results. And you can see that I have a little fact on this slide regarding a recent re-eval case study on Volkswagen. And if you look at the issues that that brand is having currently with their emissions misstatements in terms of what they're putting into the air, they stopped reporting and they started to change the way that they were reporting the data so that it no longer was transparent. They stopped putting information out. So having this transparency in terms of reporting helps engender trust in the brand, helps improve the brand reputation, and it helps us keep a check and balance internally. It raises a red flag when information starts to be withheld. You kind of have an idea that something's not going right. So it keeps a check and balance in place for who we are and what we're standing for.
Jennifer, if I can interrupt, there's a kind of an echo going on with the call. If you could pick up and not use the speakerphone, that might be helpful.
Okay, is that better?
Tons.
Okay, thank you. Next slide. So the next thing that we decided to do was determine what to measure. And we took key stakeholders from within the organization that represented critical business segments to participate in a one-day strategy session. And what we did was we mapped out what the ultimate goal is of our philanthropic platform as it relates to our business, what key performance indicators would help us achieve those goals, and who our stakeholders were, both internal and external. Once we were able to define that, we created key platforms and surveys and databases to be able to collect this information. Next slide. So for NRG, when we came to defining our goals and our KPIs, we realized that we wanted to tier ourselves in 3 levels to make sure that we could hit all of our targets. So from a corporate level, we wanted to create large-scale grants that would be able to cover all of our regions. They were replicable in scope, and they were scalable to reach everybody. On a regional level, we had medium-scale initiatives that maintain our status as a good community neighbor in the areas where we work and live. And on the individual level, we wanted to empower our employees and make sure that they felt that they were still being valued and that who they chose to support was important to us as well. So we still support small-scale donations that champion personal causes, and we do that through matching gifts, through dollars for hours, and something that we call Team NRG. And that's where 6 or more employees get together outside of work and they say that they want to participate in a 5K or volunteer at an organization. We automatically give them a $2,000 grant request. And it's very empowering for the employees because it's almost a no questions asked way to get people to come together and participate in what we consider these team builders. So it's a really nice win for the organization, and it's a really nice win for the nonprofits because we're gaining the team building aspect, the organization is getting the benefit of the volunteerism. And this enables our philanthropic efforts to have more strategic focus that aligns with our strategy and mission, is viewed as a best-in-class program, and earns NRG credit for all of its commitment, as well as engage our key stakeholders. Our KPIs would validate that global giving adds value to internal stakeholders by cultivating corporate culture. So it's very important for us that not only do we look at it from a talent acquisition standpoint, but from a talent retention standpoint, that employees felt that NRG was a type of organization that they would want to work for, that they were proud of, that truly stood by their mission, and that it was authentic. And then externally, it helps us define our organization and increase brand awareness amongst our customers. The other benefit is nonprofit organizations will benefit with focused support from NRG that can act as a catalyst to help them achieve their goals. Next slide. So here, I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of a deeper dive in terms of how we broke out our key stakeholders. I think that some of this might be unique to NRG, but that a large portion of this would be relevant to everybody on the call. So who are they? Internally, there are employees. They expect clarity. They expect a program that's smart and strategic in terms of their investments. They expect leadership, and they expect credit for the work that they're doing. We want them to feel that they're empowered, that they have pride for the organization, that it's a unified message, and that it's clear on what NRG stands for regarding our corporate social responsibility messaging. From a consumer standpoint, we want to show that we're good neighbors, that we have strong community partnerships, that not only are we local, but we're also global, and that we're using our resources and our talent for good. And ultimately, we want them to feel that the community is better because we are there, that we stand for something positive, that we care, and we want to make a difference in their lives. From a government regulatory standpoint, we want them to have the direct benefits, know that they're a trusted advisor, and have that local engagement. We want to make them look good, and we want to show that we're effective in what we say we're going to do. Next slide. And then again, just to validate our KPIs, and I think that this is probably the meatiest part of this presentation, we use the following methods to measure our efforts. So we have employee qualitative, where we created surveys that measured the social and business value generated by the volunteer programs for employees. So once we have a week of volunteering that we call Global Giving Week, and what we did here is post Global Giving Week we set out a survey with questions like, did you feel that you provided value? How important is it to you to volunteer? Were there any secondary benefits, whether it's a business contact, whether you learned a new skill? And it gave us a lot of great feedback from our employees to understand where they felt they were receiving the most value from our volunteering, and it helped us look at how we can become more strategic in terms of just regular volunteering versus pro bono work, and really the value that you could provide in terms of ROI for the organization. So one of the takeaways that we had there is that, hey, we're doing a lot of great work, but we could be better in pro bono. So it was really interesting just to be able to cull through that information, that feedback, and see where our strengths and weaknesses were. From an employee qualitative standpoint, we partnered with a provider that could capture our employee giving, our matching, and our volunteer hours. And this was essential because everything was now centrally located. We made it as easy as possible with our partner so that employees didn't need another password. So anything that was a barrier to entry, we tried to alleviate. We wanted to make it as easy as possible so that employees felt that it would be really quick, really easy to go in, log their hours, or match their donation and make it as if it was a second nature. It was just simple, clean, easy to understand, use, and then the benefit that we received is not only by increasing the employee participation where we're getting more data, but everything was centrally housed in one location so that we could pull reports for the first time to say, okay, we know how we're giving by region. We know who our top or who the employees are supporting in terms of the top organizations that they go after and how that differs maybe from who we're granting. So there was a lot of information in there that we found that was very valuable. From a brand awareness standpoint, and this is probably our biggest challenge, is how can we prove that global giving is valuable to the organization, right? We are not a profit center. We're the piece where we all just spend money. And we wanted to say, hey, can we tie ourselves directly to customers and directly to sales? And what we found out is that was really difficult. But what we could do is elevate the perception of the brand. We have a brand equity tracker where we go out and we survey customers or people that might just be aware, not necessarily customers, what their perception is of NRG. Are they aware of our global giving program? Does that change the way that they view the brand if they are aware of the program? And that information was extremely valuable because it helped us learn where we needed to strengthen our giving and our communication, because a lot of people might have recognized the name Global Giving but might have associated it with a different organization or was not aware of the full breadth and scope of our program. Lastly, we have organizational report back. We wanted to create an online granting portal to act as a clearinghouse for all grant requests. And having all of our grant requests centrally located and now internally and externally everybody going through this portal allowed us to capture all the metrics on how the funds are being used, the target population, and the expected outcomes of the donation. So we got really granular here, and we started to collect data on the 4 main focus areas that we support so we can see how much of our dollars are going to education versus the environment. We also got very granular in terms of the report back that we asked from organizations. So we wanted to know how many people were directly affected by our grant, how many lives were indirectly affected, were there any unintended outcomes, how does it align with the Sustainable Development Goals that the UN put out. So we're collecting all of this data that we can then report back on. And one thing that I just wanted to note, through all of these 4 channels where we are collecting this data, that we made sure that the language and the terms used in each platform were the same, because when we report back, we want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. So if we say education on our employee data, we want to make sure that that's the same definition throughout the rest of the platforms. Next slide. So just in summation, as brands' visibility is increased through multiple external channels, philanthropic programs must respond by revising their giving strategy to focus closely on the business's values, the key initiatives, and define areas of concentration. Metrics showcase how programs are succeeding or where there is room for improvement, and are critical in allowing businesses to highlight their charitable efforts by enhancing initiatives with transparent and empirical facts driven by data. I can tell you personally, it's been very exciting and rewarding to have gone through this process, and I think that it's a living process. I think now that we have these items in place, we are constantly looking for feedback and constantly looking for where we can improve and where we see trends within our organization, whether that's organizations that the employees support versus how we're looking at our large-scale strategic granting, or looking at trends within the industries and making sure that we are providing a best-in-class program and that we're on trend. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Really appreciate it. Now I'd like to introduce Jonathan Pearson, the Executive Director of the Horizon Foundation, telling us about how they use analytics. Jonathan?
Okay, it's possible that Jonathan's not on the call, but we do have some others from Horizon. I don't know if Joan or Jennifer might be able to help us out here.
Jennifer is on the call, but I am not able to do that.
If Joan's on the call, you can unmute your line by hitting *7.
I'm just trying to track John down.
Oh, okay.
In the meantime, are there any questions for Jennifer and NRG?
If there are no specific questions and somebody wants to reach out to me offline, I certainly didn't mention any providers by name, but I'm happy to talk about the vetting process that we went through, any of the costs of these programs, and how we went through the implementation process and lessons learned. So again, if nobody wants to ask any specific questions now, I'm happy to answer them and follow-up emails offline.
Thank you.
Jennifer, this is Craig again from Council Neuters Grantmakers. The online portal that you have, was that through a specific software, or was that something that you guys built yourself?
The online granting portal?
Yes.
Is through a specific software provider.
Okay. Can you share with us which one that was? Or?
Absolutely, no worries. There are certainly others, but we chose to go with Versaic. We felt that they were one of the industry leaders. They have a very strong program in terms of pre-screening, and were extremely knowledgeable in terms of specific granting needs. We use them for our charitable foundation with our retail business, and our corporate business is structured slightly differently. It's a bit more complex. Instead of just granting, we have committees that need to vote, and we felt that they had the most robust program in terms of handling special needs and requirements that we had.
Jennifer, this is Nina Stack. Hi, everybody. I have to say, I have never heard of that company before, so I'm really glad to get a new name of a new vendor. We need to connect with them.
Absolutely.
Nana, this is Cheryl Rosario from Wyndham. We also use Versaic and have been happy with them. Nicole's on the call and works directly with them. We are in the process, though, of looking at a vendor for more of our volunteer employee engagement activities. Do you use a specific vendor, Jennifer, for your employee engagement platform?
For employee engagement, we use Your Cause. For our survey and our follow-up, we use True Impact, and I cannot speak highly enough about Your Cause and True Impact. True Impact had some shortcomings in terms of their adaptability for some of our more unique aspects of our program, and they were a bit more cost prohibitive, but in terms of the analytics and the report back, I feel that they are bar none the best that is available out there. And our brand equity tracker, we use a third-party provider that I'm not able to share. But again, our vendors are Your Cause for our employee matching gifts, dollars for hours and volunteering, True Impact for our qualitative survey results, and Versaic for our online granting portal.
That's perfect. Your Cause is actually who we are deep in conversations with, so that's really great to get that feedback.
Great.
I want to thank you all for sharing that information for others. We've got a lot of people who have dialed in who are very quiet in the background for that, but it's always helpful, I know, for everyone to have this sort of sharing of who vendors are, who they're using, who folks are using.
Okay, this is Joan Hollandonner. John Pearson is calling in, so he should be joining us in a minute.
Hey, Joan, thank you. Sean, I just joined. I'm sorry, everyone, for my delay. Down in Trenton today in the meeting that I was in ran a little bit long, so I apologize to everyone.
That's all right. Ready to turn it over to you, Jonathan, to let us know how you guys are using analytics.
Great, thank you. So just a little bit of a background, and I didn't send out a deck or anything, so I'm just going to provide just some context. I'll let everyone know kind of where we're at and what we see moving forward related to utilizing analytics. So Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey and the Horizon Foundation for New Jersey making investments in many communities throughout the state in terms of health and wellness, prevention, population health management, and we launched our new 3-year strategy in 2015, in January 2015, based on a lot of work that we did in 2014, building our 3-year strategic plan. And we were really pleased with the work that went into our strategy, and we essentially developed 3 new giving pillars: caring, connecting, and creating. And then under those pillars, we identified the areas of focus for our philanthropy, our community investment, and our employee engagement activities. And some of the things that we looked at as we were building our strategy were specific to, how does our CSR efforts and our foundation efforts align closely with the business goals and objectives for the company, for the enterprise. And then how do we tie in, our employees, some of our target markets, understanding the regulatory environment here in New Jersey, the geographic footprint that we're trying to penetrate, and then also, is there a way we could look at the philanthropic profile of our 3.8 million customers that we insure in New Jersey? We have about a 50% market share of the insured population in New Jersey. So again, we launched our strategy not doing, not utilizing analytics in that capacity, but we have a good plan, and we think we really refined our giving strategy and our focus areas, really ultimately to have more impact. So in August of 2015, I was introduced to a company named Blackbaud, based out of Charleston, South Carolina. And essentially what Blackbaud does is they vet all of, many of the philanthropic nonprofit gifts that nonprofits receive from their donor base, individuals and other donors. and they have about 100 million records nationally that they categorize, and they're able to segment and utilize that information really to support the nonprofit sector, to help them steward and build stronger relationships with their donor base. But then they were also looking to get into the corporate space and utilizing this information for corporations to be a little bit more strategic, I guess, in their giving in areas of focus. So we started speaking to them again in August, and I brought in some of our internal experts who are partnering with our analytics group at Horizon. And the thing that was really interesting to me is, again, as we are looking to have more impact in our giving, it would be really great to know what our membership is interested in, in the different areas, whether it's, in the social services area, in the education space, in the arts and culture space. And Blackbaud is able to do that for us. And essentially where we're at right now today is we're going to provide Blackbaud with about 1 million of our customer records and information, and they are going to help kind of segment that information. So again, to align more of our giving strategy and connecting to possibly our membership and their areas of interest and some of their priorities. And again, we're at that point of providing them the information. They're going to kind of slice it and dice it. And one of the things that they'll get back to us, among a number of things, and I won't go through everything, but they will be able to tell us, the donor's age, gifts by gender, so where they're giving by gender, gifts by household, gifts by the giving channel, so are they giving through kind of social media efforts, are they giving online, are they giving directly? They'll also be able to identify, the top 10 nonprofit organizations that our membership is giving to. So in other words, are they giving to the American Cancer Society, March of Dimes? They'll be able to give us, really those nonprofits are the leading nonprofits that are receiving gifts from our membership. And, for us, it's really how do we build, our targets in terms of our philanthropy and connecting more with our customer base when it's appropriate. How are we able to build upon our brand and our impressions with that customer base, and then really stay top of mind, with our customers. So an example would be, for us, Hudson County is an area of interest for the company as the Hispanic market grows, particularly around health insurance and health insurance products and services. If we know our customers better in that marketplace, and we know what some of their interests are, it could help us refine some of our giving strategy in those communities in and around Hudson County. So that's how I see it practically being used for Horizon. We're not going to, clearly utilize analytics solely to make our decisions, because I think, as we all know, as corporate grant makers, there's a lot of art that goes into our giving, as well as the science piece, which I see the use of analytics as something very interesting for us to, again, pilot. We have almost 4 million customers. We're going to run about 1 million through this analytics pilot and hopefully get back really good information and really get data that then we can use to start deploying some of our strategy and some of our resources. So again, at the end of the day, I think it's going to help us deliver and focus a stronger brand presence in interaction with those customers that are very important to our business. it's going to help us potentially create campaigns that maximize our reach. So in other words, if we know the channels that they give through, potentially there's our opportunity to market within those channels, whether it's on social, whether it's on other channels. We think there's going to be, pretty clear call to action for us when we get the information back, so we know a little bit more about where our customers are focusing, and potentially we can make some investments in those areas of interest. And I think at the end of the day, really to, again, refine some of our thinking, refine some of our strategy. But for us, it's a pilot. This is a new area, I think, for all corporate organizations. I think Blackbaud is talking to maybe 3 or 4 other corporations at this time that have an interest in getting into this space. But I think it's really exciting. Our analytics team is being very collaborative. We're partnering with them on this because really they're the experts in terms of how you utilize and analyze this information. And then we're going to just try to bake it into some of our giving portfolio as we head into the second half of this year. So again, just to give you an update on our pilot, the million customer record is going to be deployed to Blackbaud probably by the end of this month. They should be able to provide, the analytics piece and the segmentation piece back to us within 3 or 4 weeks. So that really gets us to May. Our team will then analyze that information with the analytics team at Horizon. And then I think from that point we can start identifying potential opportunities where we can utilize this in certain areas, certain geographies, with potentially the same nonprofits that we may be working with already, but also potentially new nonprofit organizations or community-based organizations, because again, we're gonna have a better understanding of the profile and areas of interest for our customer base. We plan on also bringing this information to our board meeting in August and kind of going through our recommendation on how to use this analytics piece and how do we deploy it. And then hopefully at some point in the third into fourth quarter, we'll be able to align some of our grant making and community investments to the analytic piece, and we could really say, we made these investments based on not only our current strategy, but also based on the analytics that we received related to this pilot. So, again, I think to kind of wrap this up, and it's going to, I think, provide clearer insight to our stakeholders, our customers, our clients. At some point, we may even use this tool with our employee base because, we have 5,000 plus employees. From a community and employee engagement perspective, we may want to better understand what our employees' interests are as well in terms of their giving and their philanthropy as we try to leverage that and engage our employees from a philanthropic perspective. So better understanding of our stakeholders. Also identifying, really the nonprofits that align with these key segments of interest for us, provide us with maybe better and crisper messaging in the marketplace. And then just to wrap up, how do we tie ROI around that? How do we measure that based on these investments that we would make related to the analytics that we receive back? So that's kind of where we're at. I'm not sure if there's any questions or feedback from the group who's left on the call. But again, from
there
our
are a lot of
standpoint,
people left on the call, Jonathan. There are a lot of people left on the call.
well, I was late, so which again I apologize for.
Jonathan, thank you. That's fascinating. Fascinating.
Thank you. Well, I don't know how fascinating analytics is, but we're excited about it, and again, this is a pilot. We're going to see how it goes. So far, there's been great engagement from our analytics team, and we think there's potential to utilize this and potentially expand it going forward to include not only our full membership base, but even the state of New Jersey, the entire population. So to give you an idea, does anyone have a question on pricing? Because I can provide that as well to give you an idea of what this pilot is costing us, and with full disclosure and transparency.
I think people would be very interested to know.
So Blackbaud is looking to get into the corporate space. So with that as a caveat, our statement of work to provide the analytics on the million customers and to help us kind of get through all of the security and privacy, which is a huge topic now, with getting our membership file to the third-party vendor. There's a lot of stuff that's going on from our security and administration team to make sure they comply, as well as our privacy office and compliance, and as well as the analytic team. So there's a lot of resources internally that are focused on this to help us lift this off the ground and get it going. But the statement of work is about $30,000 for this pilot. So when I looked at it, I thought it was very reasonable, and it's going to provide us with a lot of insight, I believe, into our customer profile, and it's really looking at not just 1 year of giving from an individual. It's kind of their behavior of giving over several years, and the shelf life of this work. From what I understand, it's not just a 1 year shelf life. It's about a 2-year shelf life of utilizing this information. So I think it was a really good investment. I think for us, kind of puts us, in that innovative space of utilizing data and analytics to help inform us. So I thought, again, that was pretty reasonable.
This is such an interesting implementation of big data and how philanthropy and specifically corporate philanthropy can be even more effective, both on the whole shared value idea of, hitting where really knowing where your customers are and supporting the organizations that need support in their communities.
Yeah, and we're not. We have to be balanced too, because again, there's that art of the grant making.
Right.
And as as a New Jersey-based company, and have been headquartered in Newark for 84 years, our entire history, there's certain things that we do to be a good corporate citizen because of relationships. Not saying they're not good investments, but again, the other piece of that, to your point, and really refining what we do to have greater impact or alignment, I think there's going to be a lot of application to utilizing this tool that they will provide. So, and also one other piece as well, internally at Horizon, we had a major kickoff event with Blackbaud when they came in to present the concept after a lot of initial work that I did with my team. So I got a lot of stakeholders at the table from the company, from human resources to the sales and marketing area to government relations to our team to the brand and marketing team, because again, we think this could be a tool to help differentiate what we do and utilize our philanthropy, as a competitive advantage in our market, because we are investing. Our foundation is investing This year alone, another $5 million to nonprofit organizations. Last year we did about $5.6 million. So it's real, tangible investments that we're making, and we want to utilize that to have a competitive advantage to also help our business, our reputation, our profile, and all those other things that are important to those stakeholders that I talked about coming to this meeting. So there was great buy-in from that group, so which helped us advance further along to get us where we are today.
Great.
Fantastic. Are there any other questions that anyone on the call has for Jonathan? And again, it would be *7 to unmute your line.
And I would be willing to take calls offline as well, or emails offline. I want to thank my team for saving me to get me on this call. So Joan and Phil and the team, I appreciate you guys. Not that I forgot about the call, I didn't. It was running late, so they were very diligent. So I appreciate particularly Joan calling me on my cell. So any questions that anyone has, we'd love to answer them. Or again, offline if you want to do that offline as well.
And I'll also mention, in terms of off of this call, you can also ask other questions of your colleagues by using the listserv, which would be sending an email to njcorporatefunders@lists.cnjg.org. Most of you probably received the reminder from me this morning on that from that email listserv. So going forward, if you have questions or want to ask I think this listserv is over 230 people strong that are all corporate giving people. You can use that listserv to ask questions, continue this kind of a conversation going forward. I do want to be mindful of the time. We did say that we were going to end at 1:15. So if there are any other questions, you can send that out through the listserv, or you can email me separately. So thank you all for your time. I certainly appreciate it. After you log off, you'll be redirected to our quick survey. If you could take a minute to fill that out, we would certainly appreciate it. So thank you all very much, and have a great rest of the afternoon.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Dinah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.